All right, I see signal now. Starting over again. I had to reset some audio stuff. It looks like. So I'm gonna wait for a couple people to jump back. Probably trim this part out. Let's see if I can share this again. I'm just gonna please bear with me while mm, I got somebody back, and it looks like it's too bad. I had like a couple people there waiting. Hopefully, you guys will jump back on. Yep, looks like a couple people are back now. Well, hello again. And you hear, hopefully, you hear guitar, and you should still hear it when I mute the vocal. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna when I do a little playing, I'll probably turn that mic off just so that I can see, and just so that it doesn't you don't hear the picking stuff. Oh, kitty running by. This place is filled with animals. Oh well, hello, Sharon. Cousin Sharon is here. Howdy, good to see you. Um, Gonna do a little guitar lesson stuff. So grab a guitar and play. Um, let's see. I should reshare this link, and I'll trim all this out on the rebroadcast. Hopefully. Let me just get this to a couple people that asked me to make sure they got it. Mm, I have no idea. Technology is beyond me. Hopefully, the people that I lost are tuning back in. So, anyway, what I wanted to do was kind of continue a conversation I've been having. And it's been about the whole idea of guitar modes and how to use what I've been referring to as the modal phone number. Just a quick review, it's 1473625. Those are our starting points for our modes. Hey, Ryan Morrison is here. All right. And everybody just typed to me, make sure you can hear me. I think you can. It shows me I'm sending signal, but I had to cancel the last feed because wasn't sending audio. But it looks to me like you can. I want to keep on talking about these modes and this modal phone number that I really like to use and that I like to talk about. And yeah, he can hear me. Great. 1473625. Hey, there's Paul. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here, you guys. 1473625. Everybody remember it? First off, sorry, I really wanted to do Thursdays, then all of a sudden Thursdays became crazy. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight on Wednesday. 1473625. Those are our modes. The 1 is Ionian, the 4 is Lydian, 147 is going to be your Locrian. We're not going to worry about all the names, but that's basically how it spells out. And we're harmonizing scales. And so I kind of came up with a little bit of a loop earlier on my circuit, which is a lot of fun. And I have it all synced up to my looper. I have it in the key of E. And right now I have, let's see if I can even hear. I should hear it. And of course I don't because technology is beyond me. Here we go. There it is. And you should be able to hear that too, hopefully. I set it to the key of E, particularly E minor. It's just a little something I came up with real quick, just because I want to have something to guide us along on the journey. Uh, and if we think of the minor numbers, the first modes that come to my head, at least generally, are going to be Dorian and Aeolian. And they're going to differ by one note. And one of the best ways to really get to dig into the modes is to know your pentatonics. When you know five notes and you know the triads, the three notes that are around them, you start to add to patterns that are already familiar. So, what I would really like to do tonight in particular, and hopefully you guys can ask some questions as I go. Let me get the guitar really in here too. I'd like to talk about how to use some minor pentatonic shapes in conjunction with a couple of these three note per string shapes that are also minor, and how to kind of visualize adding a note or two to those pentatonic shapes that we already kind of know, to make them modal. And right now I have an E. See, there's a G in there, and there's something that goes at some point. I don't. I just kind of was something that I do. The circuit is awesome. If anybody wants to mess around with looping, I highly recommend one of these. I have it synced up to my looper over here, so that everything's in time. And when I start playing something, they'll be locked in together. So people ask me how I set my stuff up to do so. I usually do that. I create a template that is either 2 bars or 4 bars, something like that. Um, let's see. Yeah. Right now, I have a 4 bar loop going on, and I'm pretty sure that that's what this is too. Right now, I've created a 4 bar loop. They'll stay synced if one's 2 and one's 4. They get funny if you get an odd and an even number, but maybe that's what you want. So anyway, we're gonna mess around with this kind of a thing, and this is just a single chord vamp. I'm not gonna do 2 chords like we're doing at the last live one where we were picking a couple chords. We're gonna stick to E for a little bit. And I also have a bass looped up, set up to loop. So I'm going to try to mess around with that as well. So right here in this E minor thing, there's a couple of things that I think of when I think of E minor. Of course, we all think of the minor shape pentatonic. See if I can turn in the right way here. 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15 twice, with the 12 on the E strings being your root, and then the 14 being the root on the D string. That's an E. So you can see in that we have a root, a minor third, a fourth, perfect fifth, minor seventh. So that's a good starting point, and it's a great place for us to kind of get our feel for what we want to do with this. So you can see I can already. Byron's here. What's up, P? Thanks for tuning in, bud. You can see I can find that pentatonic position pretty quickly just by finding that root. I know it's not here. Even though it works, it's not the root. That D minor doesn't work. E minor. That's where we are right now. So there's a couple of different 3 note per string patterns that can pertain to E minor, um, that also have a major, or I'm sorry, yeah, major second, or in this case, an F sharp within that E. So that would be the 14th fret. That would be the first note that we're going to add to this pattern. So instead of just 12, 15, we're going to go 12, 14, 15. And that gives you root, second, minor, third. And then 12, 14 again. And then if we're going to do the what we would refer to as the pure minor of G major, um, we would be doing E minor, and that would be considered E Aeolian. That's the 6th degree of G major. We could do that same pattern. We would just, instead of starting on the E, we'd be starting here on the 15th fret. So that would be the pentatonic shape: 15, 12, 14, 12, and that's your root again. I'm sorry, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12. There's your root again. So that would be your major starting point for that same pattern. A lot of us, I think, kind of know that. So adding to that, the first note we add to it would be the 2nd degree, or the 14th fret here in E minor. It's going to be an F sharp, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and then C. You see, we have that shape going on. So we're going to think of this as the six in our pattern: 1 4 7 3 6 2 5. So here's the six. Here's the two. Remember the two. It looks just like the six. A lot of these patterns in that phone number are right next to each other, and that's a great way to start to visualize how these numbers 1 4 7 3 6 2 5 uh, kind of fall into the phone number and how they relate to the pentatonic shapes. A couple more viewers, welcome. Thank you very much. Talking about modes and guitar stuff here. 12, 14, 15. 12, 14, 15. So that's the six, 1 4 7 3 6 2. And then my favorite shape, the five, because it's so easy to remember the five shape. Five goes um, five, and then we repeat the pattern: 1 4 7 3 6 2 5 1 4. So that's three major shapes in a row: 12, 14, 16, 12, 14, 16. And then shift up because we hit the B string. We throw a string shift in there. So we go up one fret, and then we go 13, 15, 17. And so there's our E again. So you can see we've slid out now of that pentatonic shape. And then we would go 1 4 7 3 6 2 5 1 4 7 is going to do this move, our shift right here between, I like to use my first finger to slide up there. So 5, 1, 4, and then because you just moved up anyways, you're kind of in that movement. And there's your major, and you can hear that ends there like that, but we want to be thinking about E minor. I want to bring out the notes that augment E minor. So you can hear I hit that D. It's not a tone within the chord, but it's a pentatonic tone, so it's a safe note. All our pentatonic notes in there are going to be safe. So getting a little groove like that going on, and you can start to think to yourself, okay, so before I even go any further, let's talk about moving this five. Now that we know where that five is and that six is, 1 4 7 3 6 2 5, we kind of have that pattern in our head. We know where our one is if it was major, but we're thinking in the six, we're thinking in that relative minor. So we start to all of a sudden have these shapes and these patterns that we can repeat. So we know that there's our root within that five that we like. There's the six, 5, 6, the 7, and the 1 of the major. But we're in the 6 here. So there we are again. So we can take that same shape, that pentatonic shape, and even just repeat it here. Well, that would be the pentatonic with the added second. So that's a great little lick, just doing something like that. So to get up again, another octave, remember when you go to the B string, you have to throw in that shift. Your E isn't there anymore. Your E is right there. So there we go again. There's 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, but all relative to this 6 being our root of this journey that we're on, this little story we're trying to tell that's been written into here and that we're going to try to do some looping with and then playing over. Those are our little locational spots. And then we find that E elsewhere on the neck. And then we know there's a spot, and that's part of this pentatonic shape. Or what I would call the fourth shape. So for here, the root would be on the A string. That's an A string, 7th fret, 7 10, and then 7 9, 7 9 again. It's so similar to that one shape, you know. because of that reason. But then you have to remember that we're sliding up. We're taking the similar thing that we already have going on, and here we're going to do it here, but we're going to slide up. So that's that shape. And then you go the E strings have the 7 and 10. So 8 and 10 on the B string. And see? So you find those positions, you find what starts to feel comfortable, and you loop it. You have fun with it, right? So let me just try this. Got this little bass over here set up to loop. Let me see what I can just kind of get going. What I feel over it. When I'm ready, I can start the loop. So something like that. I can just grab it now. I can stop everything. Well, maybe. Should be able to stop and start everything. It should be set up to just play when I play. So now I'm looping. Why don't I just turn this mic off for a sec? That fourth note, and here it would be the A. That's kind of an avoid note. You don't want to hang on the 4 too often. It's dissonant. It wants to move. You hear that? That's definitely a nice rule to remember. You end up on that note and it sounds sour, slide or down. Another really cool trick. Another really cool pentatonic trick that kind of makes you sound like you're doing some modal stuff is going to be taking, as you go up, slide into any one of those out. That's just a fun little thing. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that up. So before I hit play again, I'm going to concentrate on the Aeolian sound of this, which is going to also add that C. And I'm going to try to utilize this 5 shape because I know the 6 is there. So I can think of the 6, but I'm also going to try to find that 5, which is going to be my D shape. And I know that I can use that. Then I would be playing in D mixolydian, but then I want to kind of get myself over to the E pentatonic minor or E Aeolian within that. But it's a nice little, see, it's a nice shape to use. That 5 shape is cool, and it's so recognizable. It's easy to find, and then it's like a little locator within your map. So yeah. right? Yep, the 4. So that's my general approach when I get a little something that's going on that I like. If it's a one chord thing, that's kind of how I like to hone in on where I want to go. And then as you start to realize, okay, well, that E minor, that's the 6. That means that I know I'm in the key of G, the key of G major, but I'm not really ever playing a G major chord. You know, I'm not trying to bring out the sound of G major. I'm trying to bring out the sound of E minor. And if you want to start adding chords to that progression, you know, like let's say we like the sound of that E and then like a C. Well, we know that G major has a G major, a C major, and a D major chord. So if we wanted to start adding to our progression some, you know you have some safe chords there. You can even go to the G for a second, but I wouldn't hang on it. You know, you don't want to really like hang on it. You know, you use it as a transition, but that's your major one. All of a sudden, it sounds like you're there, and you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in Hootie and the Blowfish world. You want to be over here in Zeppelin world, right? You know. Oh, I gotta watch my. I don't want to get copyright things. It's a big thing. I don't know if everybody knows that yet. It's tough to teach covers on YouTube. A lot of all that classified information going on there between the record labels there, and they don't want to share all that information out there, Normie. So you know, I'm not going to go playing covers, and if I get a copyright strike, God forbid, I'm not even monetized. What are they going to do to me if I do? Oh, jeez. Anyway, so let's talk about that 6 shape and how it has the C, and then talk about how E minor. There's the other E minor that a lot of people will jam with, and that's going to give you a little bit more of a jazzy sound. And it's going to have the C sharp. That's that note right there. Okay, so instead of being a pentatonic minor, thinking of it as the 6, we're going to be doing pentatonic minor, thinking of that note right there now as the 2. That 12th fret is now not going to be relative to the G major that way. We're going to use E minor relative to the D major chord. I'm a little out of tune. And by using it that way, it gives us a whole different sound. Aeolian and Dorian, they're only that one note off. All of the modes, once you learn the orders, they're all only one note off from each other. Today, I really want to concentrate on how the Aeolian and the Dorian are different, or I'm sorry, yeah, the second degree and the 6th degree, the Aeolian and the Dorian, are different. Now, Phrygian is minor and Locrian is minor, but we're not going to really kind of wander into that world tonight. But they give you some great sounds too. A lot of Phrygian stuff out there is actually popular. Okay, so that Dorian sound has 12, 14, 15, and then it's going to go 12, 14, 16. You see that? 16 is our big change note here. So that means we're in the key of D. Now we have added, instead of just an F sharp, as far as our sharps and flat go, we have changed that C to a C sharp. So now instead of being in the key of G, you're in the key of D. Whole nother lesson. But just thinking in the key of D major, but playing E minor is going to give you that major 7th against a D. When you're in the second degree here, that is acting as a major 6th to the second. You got second degree of D would be E. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. There's our D, but we want to go to E. 2. Okay, so let's stay in position and we'll do it this way. 12, 14, 15. 12, 14, 16. And then 12, 14, 16 again because we have that 5 shape. lets us know we have a 1. There's our relative 1. There's our 2, our Dorian 2. 2, 3. So we got there. There's the 4. 1, 1, 4, 4. 7 is going to give us the shift, but we're also doing that shift on the B string. That's really a big thing to get with the phone number is that when you hit a 7, you have to shift your finger position up. And when you hit the B string, you have to shift your finger position up. If you hit a 7 on the B string, you have to do a double shift. So here we are in the 2 in E minor. That C there, that's not going to work. That C sharp is what we're looking for. So you got your 2, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7 with the double shift. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's letting us know that the A is that mixolydian spot or that really cool kind of, you know, one, one whole step pattern, then repeat it again, 2 more strings in a row. That's a great locator. So we're in Dorian, not Aeolian. That's Dorian. So let's try that over this jam. All right, I already myself like the sound of Dorian over this jam better. Like, and so to me, that would mean I'd probably want to stick there. If I was not filming this or doing any of this at home and I had just created this and I just got this little loop going and I said to myself, "Ooh, I like Dorian," I'd probably label it on the loop or write a little note to myself, call the song something that at this point reminds me Dorian, and one of the best tips I can give to is if you get a jam that you like and all of a sudden you realize this, you're not going to remember that tomorrow morning. Try to video it, try to make a note, try to do something that lets you know that when I play this progression, when I hit this on this, I really want to try to bring out this C sharp and I really want to make sure I have that F sharp going and I'm just playing my pentatonic minors. So then I'm adding these notes anywhere I possibly can, that F sharp and that C sharp. And then figure out the phone number from there. Locate it as many different places over the neck as I possibly can so that when I then am just jamming over it, if I got my buddy Kevin over or we're just playing and we're playing and we're playing, I start to get comfortable with it. And the more often I start to do that, the more often it comes to me. My buddy Ryan, who I don't know if he's still tuned in, he's got something in his head right now. And all the past 2 weeks, he's like, I can't get it out of here. I can't. He shows me it on the guitar. Look, I got this thing going and I can't stop. And that's the best feeling in the world, man. When you get something that rings in your head that you wrote that kind of just starts to sit with you, it's just such a cool feeling, and that's what I really want to try to bring out with these kind of lessons is how to come up with a chord progression. You can use the phone number even to find a chord progression. Yep. Robert Jones says, "Yep, get it, B. You got it." Um, take take a couple of chords and figure out where they fall into a progression and then figure out what you like about it, what you don't like about it, what scale you would prefer to use over it. Do if I'm in minor, am I going to like the Dorian? Am I going to like Aeolian? If it's a major thing, do I want to do I want to kind of bring out a Lydian sound? Oh, hi Ryan, glad you're still tuning in. Do I want to bring out a Lydian sound within the major is going to be a raised fourth, just one note different than the regular Ionian major scale. The Lydian has the raised fourth. And that, if we were talking about in the key of G, that's the C. And if we just play C, but think of the key G, but don't play the chord G, but play G shapes, it gives us that sound. And then you can get, there's that raised fourth as opposed to that 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 regular fourth. Like even in the minors, it's dissonant. You want to move away from it, but you really want to know where it is because you don't want to play the wrong fourth. You don't want to play the wrong sixth. Those are the things that when you start to play them, you're like, I see. I've been playing the wrong sixth here. I really like it when I add the major sixth, that C sharp, to my pentatonic minor, as opposed to the minor sixth. Because you can't play the C again. You have to be thinking in the key of E. So that's all the different starting points within the phone number using the minor side of it and then trying to relate it to the pentatonic. Remember, if you start with the triad, you got three notes, your root, your third, and your fifth, and then you're adding two more notes to the pentatonic, 5-note scale. You're adding uh, the fourth and the seventh. So our power chord, root, five roots, and then you add the minor third there on the 12th fret. You can see it's part of that pentatonic shape. And then you add these notes in, and you go from 3 notes to 5 notes. Then you start adding in the second and the sixth to these minor shapes. And depending on which one you add, today we're talking about adding that major sixth instead of the minor sixth to get a Dorian sound instead of Aeolian. Depending on which one you have, that's your starting point within the modal phone number. So if you like that shape, that's just two strings, it's just 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 16. You like that sound over that jam, that's the map. That right there is your map. It happens again here. Up two strings, up two frets. Up. And then up two strings, up three frets because we're going to the B. So those are your little locators. Like if you start to go higher, you start to see it all fall out in your pentatonic shapes. Learn your pentatonic shapes and learn them on individual strings. Don't just learn the whole thing up and down, learn parts of it. Those are, four shapes in a row, but just the top two strings. And that becomes really handy, especially when you start mixing in pentatonic and 7 notes per string. It's just another little seasoning. You're making food, you're telling a story, whatever, however you want to look at it. You want to look at these as defining points, as what has spoken to your ear, and the things that make you remember the song, that make you remember the jam. Almost every song that you could look at on the radio today or back in the day, there's a theory to it. And when the theory part is broken and it sounds weird, well, there's a rule somewhere for it. There's a rule for almost everything. So just learning some of the basics and then finding your voice within those basics, you'll be teaching yourself rules that are already there, but just finding your way around those rules. And this roadmap of 1473625, stop thinking of it in terms of just the one. I still, to myself, when I'm talking about it, I have to stop and say, okay, 1473625. I have to think again for a second. But when I'm finally at the point of being able to play and think to myself, okay, I'm in this shape, I'm in this shape, I'm in this pattern, I'm here doing this, especially as I've been learning a lot of songs lately for other bands and a lot of older songs. You start to see things that are so familiar, and you can think to yourself, okay, this song, there's a Toto song that that has that chord, and then it has this. And, I'm not going to get a copyright thing, but it's got an F sharp, and it's got a C sharp, and those two, I know they're minor, and then I know that the next ones that I've got a major and a major here. So I've got a minor here and a minor here. So F sharp minor and a C sharp minor, and then I've got these familiar looking two major chords in a row, which to me screams 4 and 5 because you got a major shape there, and then you got another shape right here that's major. So that's the 4 and the 5 of the key of A. But the song is in F sharp. So there you are moving to the sixth. That's that Aeolian thing. You got this, you got the A in there as your relative one. So your relative minor is going to be that. So that tells me to myself, boom, that song, when I played that song, I have to think to myself, F sharp Aeolian. I have to then remember I'm going to be bringing out that D when I need to. I don't want to necessarily bring out that D sharp. It's too happy for the pattern, and you're out of key there. So that's the way that I use something like the telephone pattern or the theory of the chords, and how a major and then two minors and then two majors and then a minor and then a minor with a diminished fifth. That's the Western chord theory. That's what we use, for all of this kind of modal theory technique, and that's all based around whole step and half step movements. What's really also really cool is you get into the whole harmonic minor thing where there's a minor third within there, and you have. So how common is it to change modes? It's common. It's common. Like there's a way to do um like what I was just doing. If I was jamming in Dorian, in E Dorian, I probably wouldn't want to switch over to E Aeolian for too long, but I could quickly use that C as a chromatic. So you can then borrow from that mode to kind of get there, but you don't want to hang on it. Um, or if you do, like let's say I was doing this and I broke it down for a second and I wanted a different feel there, and I had been going, but now I want like a whole different feel. So I'll mute some things here, and then you can picture the lights in the stadium they're turning green all of a sudden, coming down a little bit. So it's real common. It's very common, and what they call that is borrowing from a different mode. If you're in, gosh, there's another song I could use as an example. There's a song that's in the key of D that I play. Let's see. No, it's in the key. Hold on, it's in the key of A. Okay, so it's got an F sharp. I'm not going to say the name of it. It's got an F sharp, and it goes D, then it goes E. So there's that D and E thing again. So that tells me it's in the key of A, but it doesn't play in A. It's mostly centering around this move. And then it goes to here, this E, and then a C sharp minor, and then it goes to D, and then an A, and then a B. Okay, so that's all within that key of A, but then they throw in a G at the very end of the chord progression, and they borrow from a probably A mixolydian. I don't know. It would either be A minor or A mixolydian. So instead of having a G sharp, so the progression, imagine. So that's the progression. It would sound so different if it stayed in key right there for that last chord. I'm not going to go to G sharp. Yeah, see, I'd have to play a G sharp with a flatted fifth, and then another G sharp, and then a minor. And man, then you wouldn't be able to hold that really cool chord that that song holds there. So there's an example of something being in one key entirely, and then for one chord, they go out of the key and borrow from a relative key to it. So it's very common, and it grabs the listener's ear, changing modes when done right. And that's a big part of learning the phone number too, is what's going to be a good way to do this. If I want a little bit of a change now within my progression, how am I going to do that? Am I going to do it in the middle of a vamp? If I do I want to all of a sudden break everything down and really make it stand out that that mode has changed? Because otherwise it might sound unintentional, and it might sound like mistakes. Like if I'm jamming in Dorian, and then I start, it says all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, I meant, it's like, no, I didn't mean to go here. No, 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 please, everybody, come back to the stage. So there could be those moments where you're like, ah. So changing modes is really common. When you listen to a song and you hear your ear gets pulled a little bit, it's probably been a key change. Even if just for a bar or two, or you hear it a lot in songs where like they'll play a progression in G, and then the song is just everybody's singing along, yeah, and then it's built up, and then they take that whole same progression, the 1 5 4, and then move up to A, and then everybody in the crowd goes, whoa, and all the lights go white, and everybody's happy, like that kind of movement. You've moved the whole thing up an entire step. So if you're in G, yeah, but don't do that because then everybody walks away from the stage. But you see, they take the same pattern and move it up a whole step. That whole step movement is, it really will grab a listener's ear. That's one of the biggest movements you can do with the chord, is a major to a major, or I'm sorry, not a major to a major, is a whole step within that progression. When you're writing a progression, going to the 3, it's kind of relative. Going to the 4, it's similar but just dissonant enough that you've heard things change. Going to the 2, going from like G major to A minor, you hear that? That's movement. So the 1 3 2 5, that 2 5, that 5 is also a lot of movement that's begging you to go back home. That 2 is like moving away from home. That's a teenage punk moving out. And there he is. He just graduated from college and he wants to get home. Hi, mom. There's my G chord. You know what I mean? Like, there's your story. That's the tale. That's the journey. That's that whatever you want to tell within the song. He grows up a little bit. He's moved out on his own, and he's got his own show now on ABC. Whatever it is, there's how you use those kind of tricks. Changing modes is a great thing. That's why, like with the looper, if it doesn't track too well if you go more than a step. Like if I went from A to B, if I set the looper up to do a key change and go from A to B, it won't warble too much. You go too much and it starts to break up digitally. A third and stuff. You try to move that whole pattern, the looper won't do that. This thing, I can do that really easily. This little mixer thing, this circuit will allow me to change the key. So I can now come to the scale. Here I am in E. Let's say I want to go to C. Here's my C. So now I can do some C Dorian. I want to do it in D. Go back to E. So I probably wouldn't make a progression that's all the same mode for each chord. And right there, I have a minor kind of a vamp going on. So I would want to have, like, if I were to go back and forth between a couple of different patterns within here, I would want to have one that's a minor and then one that's in maybe the major of the relative key. So if I came up with something similar in there, but then changed it to D major, which I could probably do. I'm sure I could do, but I'm not gonna do that right now. But then I would save it as a pattern, and then you can go back and forth between the two patterns, much like you can with the looper. And then that's a really cool way to say, okay, I love going between this E minor and this D major shape. It just gives me such a cool feel. Or I love going between this E minor, and then putting the C there. You start to find those progressions. And I'm telling you, when you find something like that you like that speaks to you, please write it down. Get your phone out, record it. I just recorded something the other day, didn't even have an amp plugged in. I just knew that I liked it so much I wanted to grab it and do something with it later on. So always try to have some way of recording something or grabbing a little video of it, writing it down. Wow, I've been talking for 45 minutes or so. Holy moly, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Seriously. I hope give me a thumbs up or say something here if you feel like you got something out of what I've been talking about. Why don't I ask you, anybody have any questions? We want to talk about anything? I'll go for another couple minutes for sure. Um, but I don't want to make this too long. Good golly, 45 minutes. Thank you guys really for hanging out. I have a really good time doing this stuff. I'm glad that some of you guys really enjoy what I've been doing with the stuff on YouTube, and with my buddy Kevin with his drums. I'm gonna remember next time to grab a beverage, because noodling is how you learn. Yep, yep, exactly. Yep, it's all becomes familiar thing, and as you start to remember these patterns, try to relate them to different chord progressions. Try to say, I really like this thing that I'm doing, but I want to try doing another chord with it, or I want to try to just do this in a different key. I want to do it in G instead of E minor. I want to just practice something. I want to have something to practice. Just come up with a couple of things to jam to and go over it like that. That's the way to do it. So anyway, hey, thanks guys. Really seriously, thank you. More tools for the toolbox. Yes, exactly. Learning the difference between Aeolian and Dorian, that was a big thing for me, and that phone number really helped me. Seeing how the different songs have been written. Find like a song that speaks to you. I end up going through. I find I hear a lot of songs in Lydian mode that I really, if a song is major and it's kind of talking to me, so often I realize that it's Lydian, and that is that major scale, but with the raised fourth, and it's just so much more smooth. There's a lot of examples of that happening. Anytime you see three whole steps on a string or within the pattern there, that's starting on the four. 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you make it sound homely by going to the one. Yeah, yeah. Don't go to that one, and bring it out as a chord. Find that Lydian mode when you want to do some major stuff. Just give it a shot. Add that note, just like I was talking about adding the second and the sixth to these pentatonic shapes to get to get this three note string thing going on. You do the same thing with the majors by adding the right notes, which would be, I guess, the sevenths and the fours. So that's how you would kind of vary yourself in there. The notes that are missing from the pentatonic notes are the key defining notes of the modes. And when you see them missing, you'll start to get them. IDPLMAL. A diplomal. Not too sure what that one means, but the whole thing, whatever's missing from those pentatonics, those are those. Oh yeah, there you go. I got you. Yep, yep. Good job there. Yeah, get that order in your head: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, and then it starts over again. Get those in your head, and all this stuff will really kind of start to fall in place. You'll start to see your progressions, and you'll see where maybe you've written something that you really like, and you realize, oh, I changed key there. I didn't even realize that, but that's something that I did. I added a chromatic note, and then I built a chord around it, and I liked that. You those things can kind of open up your journey along the way as to the toolbox, the tools in your toolbox. Yep. So, anyways, guys, thank you all really so much for hanging out and for tuning in all the time. I really dig it all, and I really am glad to get the chance to teach you guys this way. I love YouTube. I hang on YouTube all the time. So, all right, peace out, you guys. Thank you. See you all on Facebook. Hey, Jacob, thanks for being here, man. Good to see you. See you guys on Facebook. Love you.